Hello, and welcome to Appleton Engaged. I'm your host, Timber Smith, Special Assistant to the Mayor for Community, Culture, and Belonging.
And I'm Sarah Schneider, Mobility Manager with Valley Transit, a department of the City of Appleton.
And Appleton Engaged is a podcast that explores the many people, organizations, and resources that make our community a great place to live, work, and play. So whether you're a longtime resident or just getting to know Appleton, join us as we learn more about our community together.
Timber, my favorite podcasts are the ones that expand my knowledge of the great people and organizations that without Appleton Engaged, they would go unnoticed and we would never know about them. That's probably why this podcast was formed and started, but this is one of those days. I'm
with you, Sarah. Today is a day of learning, but you know why I'm excited, Sarah?
Tell me.
Because it's podcast day.
I almost jumped in and echoed you.
Oh, it's podcast day.
It is.
We always get excited about podcast day and our guests that we get to have on podcast day and the amazing resources that they're about to share with the Appleton Engaged listeners. So this week's guests are Brian Ollech, board member and president of Welcoming Willows and chief financial officer of Network Health, and John Wright, board member and parent of adult special needs client Casey. Hey, Brian. Hey, John. How are we doing today?
Great. How are you doing?
Good. Doing good and glad to have you here with us today. But going any further, let's just take a moment. And can you both please tell us a little something about yourself and your association with Appleton and the surrounding Fox Cities region?
Sure. I'll start, Timber. Again, as you mentioned, my name is Brian Ollech. I've been up here in the Appleton area about 8 years. So I guess I'm what you call a transplant. Dropped here into the Fox Valley and loving it. Born and raised in the state of Wisconsin. My career has taken me around the country, but like a magnet, got me back here to Appleton, and I absolutely love it. I live in the area with my wife of 30 plus years, my two daughters who are 25 and 23, who are becoming basically in love with the community. Along with that, I have a nice little 6-pound poodle who I think she's just about as much in love with being up in this area until the snow falls. So that's a little bit about me. I'll turn it over to John if you want to say hi.
Hi, so I'm John Wright. I'm a father of 3. Actually are from the southwestern part of the state, but we moved here 35 years ago. I worked 37 years for Bolt. I'm semi-retired. I still help out, but I'm also a board member for the daycare now, which my oldest son attends. We chose Appleton because it's a great place to live, and it was a good place to raise a family, and a lot of services are available here.
Facts. That is exactly what we're going to say. That is facts. And we know a lot about all these amazing resources that we have because we have a lot of episodes about them. Isn't that right, Sarah?
We have a lot of episodes, and we have a lot of great resources. And this is a great community. You guys nailed it.
Yes. But now it's time to jump in. Can you please tell us about your resource at this time?
Absolutely. So today we want to come and tell you a little bit about Welcoming Willows Adult Daycare Center, located right here in the community in Little Chute at 1000 West Main Street. We opened the organization in 2023, so we've been around 2 years. We serve about 15 clients today, have about 6 staff members that are part of our caregiving team. But really, this is about serving a need in the community that was sorely missed coming out of COVID. What we do at the organization is provide weekday day services for individuals with severe disabilities and special needs. John will talk in a few minutes about what this means to him a little bit. Coming out of COVID, this in-person ability to have our clients be in an area where they could do daily life skills, socialization, activities, arts and crafts, you name it. Fun things that they should be able to have a rewarding life experience didn't exist. And so I had an opportunity coming out of that to meet a lot of the community. I mentioned I'm a transplant here, so I love going to community events. And just share the little story with you. I was out at Venables, and I think everybody knows Venables with the great chicken, right? and enjoying a nice community event, and I met a young man. That young man happened to be John's son, Casey. And Casey came right up to me and introduced himself, held my hand, and walked around with me. I think, John, at the moment that happened, you were a little bit like, oh, my goodness, I better go save this gentleman from my son because he's not going to leave him the rest of the night. That moment, that time, those couple minutes served as a catalyst for our opening. I learned a lot about what was going on in the community for people over the age of 18, what they were facing, the challenges, what they've gone through over the last couple of years, not having a place to be out in the public. And not just for them, but for the families, because they couldn't get a break. Some of them had to quit work to be able to stay home. And from that started an idea. Could we open something back up? Could we do this again, and could we build it up successfully? As I mentioned, we've been in business now for 2 years. It's going great, and we're looking to do some expansion, which we'll talk about a little bit before, but I'd like to turn it over to John for a minute and have him tell you a little story about what it means to him and his family and Casey in general to have this type of resource.
So having Welcoming Willows it's a place that he can go. He's safe, but it also gives us a chance to be able to take care of our daily lives and make life a little easier for us, take care of business, but he's safe. So the trouble in most areas and most anywhere you go is a lot of the adult services go away. Everybody's great. They want to help out the kids, but once they turn 18, it gets tougher to find a place to go. Casey has been in several places that they continually closed because they struggled. Welcoming Willows came along, and he had been out of anywhere to go for over a year, just looking for a place. So with what they give them there, and they give a lot of the parents that break because what we take in at the daycare is more of a one-on-ones mostly, so which are harder to place.
I'm super curious. What do some of those services look like that are needed within Welcoming Willows? Once you age past that 18 years old, what does the services that are needed look like?
So I could take that, Timber. And I do a lot of work with organizations. This one I happen to be really involved with, but there are services for people with special needs that are about getting them ready to go to work, giving them work skills, giving them those types of things. And a great service, and we work together with a lot of those great services in the area. Friends of mine who run those organizations were a little bit different. I'll say it's very basic needs services. It's being able to work on eating independently. It's about being able to use the restroom independently, washing, bathing, cleaning up. As simple as that sounds, that's the basic life skills that we help to make sure that they can do independently with dignity, and to be able to do it with folks that have similar needs and similar skill levels. Whether it's then taking that into arts and crafts. It sounds a little bit different when you say adults. We color, we play, we do puzzles, we sing karaoke on Fridays. Actually, they're probably doing it as we speak.
Wait a minute. All of these things sound very adult to me.
I was going to say,
Yes.
sounds like a great household that, that you'd want to just go and do.
So again, and that really is, you actually nailed it. Because what we are doing is trying to make it seem like life is normal as an adult. And giving them that environment to do it where they can feel that everything they do is judgment-free, that they're accepted. And so as we do that, our caregivers are there. Some of our individuals need medication management. Some of them need even more help. But in the end, the smiles, the being able to be a kid when you're an adult and do it in a facility like ours is really what's the rewarding part.
It sounds like you were the one who kind of cast the vision and brought this organization to reality. Where did the name Welcoming Willows come from? Is there an association or something special about that name that made it yours?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying it was a group effort. And we do have an individual a founding member, Joyce Lucrow, who is from the region and has seen this need for many, many years and has helped this this population for many, many years. And well, we all came together and created how we could get this done. She was a major part of that. As to your question about welcoming Willows in the name, it's a great question. If you go down Main Street in Little Chute, and you have done that for years in your life, there's a spot where Welcoming Willows is located today, and there's a huge willow tree right on the corner. You can't miss it if you're looking for it. And so that willow tree is part of our identity. You think about a willow tree, it's welcoming. It kind of like gives you a big hug, right? You're underneath a willow tree, it's coming down. And the other part of that, the welcoming, is that's what we want to be. We want to welcome our friends there. We want to welcome our families there. We want to welcome the community to see what we do. So it's a natural naming convention to put welcoming with the Willows and have that be part of our identity. So that's how we came up with the name Welcoming Willows.
I love that. And it is a great tee up for my next question, which is you used in your previous comments, you want people to feel accepted. What does that mean? And I don't mean like it's a welcoming environment and we want to make people feel welcome, as much as I am concerned about why would they not be accepted? The population you serve, how have they not been accepted in society potentially? Or what is society's perception that you're offering a level of dignity for these people?
So, John, would you like to just take that from your perspective with Casey, and then I'll...
Something I learned, and it's a harsh reality, is once you have friends and families, and once they learn that you have a child with needs, they don't know how to react, so they tend to walk away. So trying to keep them with their peers and interacting in the community keeps them in the forefront more so that people do see it. They don't just go away. But it does. It's a harsh reality, as it does happen.
Sorry to hear that.
And I would just add on to that, as we, like I said, we welcome a lot of community to come in and volunteer. We have some other organizations within the facility with us. And, one of the first things you hear is, well, you can't really have those folks interact with other folks because they're going to see things like meltdowns. They're going to see, behaviors that are normal, on its surface, but it's who they are. And the more you get them to be in that environment, feel comfortable, have the structure, that becomes their normal. And they feel more comfortable. I can tell you 2 years ago, I walked in there and I'm like, I'm not sure exactly, how I should act. I'm the chief financial officer of Network Health. I come in there and I'm like, okay, serious. This is about, a business. Now I go in there and, it's high fives. It's where's the microphone? Can I sit on the peanut ball with you? And we have some fun. You see the joy in their face, feeling like, okay, I can interact with this person, and it gives them confidence to do it outside of the facility too.
So how do you sign up? How does the person, if they're listening right now and they're thinking, I think this might be an option for my family, what does sign up look like, and are there costs associated with it?
Sure. So many of our clients are on part of government aid, not fully on government aid. So they're part of either a Medicaid or a Medicaid program, being a dual special needs individual. And so typically they're working with an organization similar to Community Care, IRIS, all partners that we have contracts with and we work with. So many of those people have had those partners throughout their, non-adult life and as they've been growing into adulthood. We work with them. We work with the schools here in Appleton, Little Chute, Kimberly, in the special needs departments, knowing who's going to be coming out of those programs and what we call aging out, becoming 18 and out of those programs. What we do then is we try to see if we can be a good fit for them. And sometimes some of the higher functioning folks are better fits for some of those organizations I mentioned before. And we want them to go there. We want them to continue to develop, potentially get those work skills, potentially to do that. Actually, our best thing is to graduate some of our people up into that area after they get comfortable. But we know that that's not the case. As John said, some of our clients have to be one person to one caregiver or 2 to 1s or 4-to-1s. Going back to your question, when they come to us, we do an assessment. We look at behaviors, we look at where they're at, and it could be aggressive behavior, it could be lack of mobility, it could be all different things, and we assess them and we determine whether they're a good fit for our organization. Honestly, if we can assess them appropriately and they don't look like they should go to a higher level organization, and there's not something like aggressive behavior that might put someone else at risk, we're going to take them and we're going to put them into our program and call them one of our friends. We try not to use the word client. If you ever hear us talk a lot, they're our friends.
I love that. And to me, that in itself is welcoming, because that gives that level of connectivity as opposed to a client relationship that maybe feel more transactional. What does your facility look like? Like, I picture a daycare. Obviously, my brain goes right to infant child daycare, where it's colorful and a lot of pads in places and sleeping mats in the corner and colorful toys. What would an adult daycare look like?
So great question. And I'll say currently it has some features that are similar to what you're saying. If I had one thing to go back to 2 years ago, I'll just say this. Our name is Welcoming Willows Adult Daycare. If I had one different thing, I'd call it an Adult Day Services Center. And I try to correct myself all the time. John knows I try to correct the board all the time, because it's a little bit more than a daycare. It is the day services that I mentioned. And as we've continued to build out our facility in its current space, we have some expansion space coming in 2026, we've divided up the space to an arts and crafts area. There is the area that is for eating, so a little kitchen area, snack area, where people go into that area. We keep that a little bit separate.
That's where you'll find Timber.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Bringing all his snacks, just like our friends do, right?
No lies have been told.
We do have an indoor swing area kind of from the ceiling that actually is a huge attraction for many of our clients, like to sit on there and just kind of swing around. But with many of our clients, by the end of the afternoon, they like to sit on the couch. They like to kind of kick back. And so we have a number of couches that we've had donated and brought in, and they can sit around. And we try to keep something engaging on the TV. So sometimes it's not just sitting and watching a movie. Sometimes all of a sudden a fitness video comes on, and the next thing you know, we've got ourselves a little, cross fitness going on with everybody having fun, or that's where we have the karaoke. But we plan to add a sports area where we'll have some additional things that they can do, like ping pong, things like that they can enjoy 12 months a year. Here in Wisconsin, we only get a few months of summer.
This is true.
We're going to put an activity area on the inside. We're going to expand our arts and crafts area. Also, 2026, we know that being outside when you can be outside is not just physically good, it's mentally good. We'll be expanding and doing an outdoor area for them in the back as well. And so we got a lot of great things going on in year 3, and we're really excited about that.
There's a lot of activity areas, but there's also some nice quiet areas too for those that need to sit down and relax.
You do have to have the balance of both.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. What are your days and hours of operation?
So we start every day, Monday through Friday at 7:30, and then we will have final pickups at 4:30 in the afternoon. Those hours really accommodate people who need to be to work by 8 o'clock. They can do a drop-off. We do have a number of our clients are personally dropped off by parents. We do have a couple that come on transportation services. But again, those hours really accommodate the ability for people who do want to go do some work and are able to come back and get their adult child from work. We don't have weekend hours. We don't have night hours at this time for anything that we do, but we really try to work in that area that really helps facilitate families.
And when you talk about graduating your friends to independence, is there a progression that they hit certain benchmarks to achieve?
Yeah, so one of the things we have to do is, I mentioned the initial assessment that we do. And from that initial assessment, they are given kind of a grading scale that determines what their individual service plan is. In addition, it indicates the level of caregiving that they have, whether it's 2-to-1, 4-to-1, 1-to-1, all the way up to 10-to-1. typically a 10-to-1 or 8-to-1 is somebody that's ready to go into a work services or a skills-based services like Valley Packaging, Remarkable, one of those types of organizations. So as we start getting people comfortable in there, maybe at that 4-to-1, and they start to show signs, every 6 months we have to do a reassessment. And we work with their caseworker, guardians, parents and guardians, and we'll make recommendations. And so we've had a couple cases in the first 2 years where we said, honestly, right now, we're probably, at this point, they need a little more. They can handle a little bit more. And the greatest thing about this community that I learned, especially getting into this, I was told a long time when we first started this that we're all competitors, Forming, Remarkable, Valley Packaging. And then I decided to treat it like I do work at Network Health, collaboratively. And I met with them all. And I learned we're not. We all have the same focus and the same goal, and that's to fulfill the needs of the community. And we all do it a little bit differently. And the greatest thing about that is I can pick up the phone and I can say, I've got somebody that's ready to come to you. If they have somebody that comes to them and they say, we can't handle that right now, they call us. And it's a win-win. Probably 3 wins if you count. It's a win for both of us, but the biggest win is for the client itself, goes to the right place.
Right. Is there any myths or misunderstandings that you think people have about your services or the people you serve through your services?
So I'll start with the biggest one. I said before, if I had one thing I could change, it's the day services name versus the day care. We have a great facility. It's set up really, really well for this type of population and what we do. John mentioned being in this community for a number of years. He's been through a number of different organizations that had a tough row at it and had to close down. One of the things we did, because we knew a number of our population was from the area where we opened the facility, we opened it in the facility location where several organizations had been before. I think one of the myths, one of the things is that we're the same place. And I can tell you we're not. We have incredible caregivers. We have an incredible board we've put together with community leaders, including several members on our board that are like John, who have very much experience with children and adult children with disabilities. So we understand those needs firsthand, that all have a passion for this. We make decisions that are about longevity versus currently, and it's just been great. And so that's probably our myth that took about 2 years for people to say, we aren't that same place that was there that closed 2 or 3 times. We're doing something different, and we've got our act together, and we're going to be around for a while. So that's probably the myth about just our organization a little bit. About the population, do you want to add anything about that, John? No?
Do you have any vacancies or capacity restraints?
So right now our capacity is really not the facility itself. It's in finding qualified caregivers that can come and take care of folks. We have great caregivers. We have very low turnover in our caregiver staff, which is kind of uncommon. It's great because these people have great hearts. They're not going to become millionaires being caregivers for this population, but they have hearts of gold. When I hear from them that say, I just love working with our friends, I'd love more people to experience that if they have the desire to do that. And that's really our limiting factor sometimes when we have to look for whether we can accept someone, especially if it's one client that's a 1-to-1 and we have to bring in a caregiver. We may have to say, well, we're going to have to get back to you. We have to see where we're kind of at. It ebbs and it flows throughout the year as well. Typically, when the school year ends and you're getting ready for summer, you have those that aged out of their senior year that need space. We are timing a lot of the things that we're doing with expansion for that, and we're starting to do some of our staffing models for that so that we can be ready. We want to make sure that when those folks transitioning after the 2025-2026 school year, we are an option and we're ready.
Thank you for that answer. John, we love stories here at Appleton Engage Podcast, and so we'd love for both of you to share a story, but I'd love to hear more about Casey and how it's changed your family's life for welcoming Willows.
So Casey's 32, and he's a combination of 32 and 2. He's never met a stranger, which is pretty cool. That's how Brian and I met. And I let him go with Brian so I could outbid Brian on some items that we were both looking at the dinner.
Oh, it was strategic.
Oh,
That's
trust
awesome.
me. Casey and I are partners in crime. But welcoming Willows, it gives him a place to be himself, if that makes sense. He's not judged, but they do kind of help push him to be a little more self-reliant. He gets the direction to be responsible for himself some, but he's also that if he needs quiet time, he can go sit. They don't force things. It's great for us because most of the clients that we have there are friends. The parents work and the individuals live with their parents yet mainly. So not everybody's in like a group home or anything like that. So it's really it's phenomenal to have it because it's so needed that people can go to work and take care, like I said, take care of their daily lives a little bit unhindered, because it is kind of difficult if you remember taking kids to the grocery store when they were all 2 and 3 years old. Well, when they can reach the top shelf, it's even more fun. So it's just a great place.
Thank you. That's powerful. How about you, Brian? You've got a story for our listeners?
Well, I think for me, it's just really the joy I get from this. It's become something that's ingrained. I said earlier, I have a family of 4. We're all involved. Part of the board as well. She's a almost daily volunteer there. She tells me the stories, and just I can tell the passion that she has, and I can tell how much fun it is when she's there. And she tells me about how they're all progressing, and it's little things, and it's great. Both my adult daughters are involved in different capacities. Recently, my daughter opened her own special needs facility right next door, catering to the non-adult population, kids from 4 to 13. And so she's right there. She pops in. She knows all the clients by name. They know her by name. And so it's really become a family kind of passion project for us. But honestly, it's a grounding thing. It's being able to step back from what I do for a professional life to go in there and just, instead of being 50, I'm 5, and I get to do some things and have some fun and enjoy it. And I can't tell you, 2 years ago, a chance meeting changed my life.
That's incredible.
Is there a waiting list?
Right now, I would say we could probably we do not have a current waiting list, but if we were to get 3 or 4 one-to-ones, we probably would. It depends on the needs assessments that we would have of who would come right now.
Are there any upcoming events or initiatives or engagement opportunities?
So, yeah, there's actually some really cool things I'd like to say. And for your individual listeners who are always sitting there going, I wish I could go out and help, we've got things for you. You can come and do what I just said. Have a little fun. You can come and help our caregivers and sit and color. You can come and sit on that peanut ball. You can sit and have karaoke. We invite volunteers to come in and be there with our caregivers and be there with our clients. All you got to do is let us know you are coming, sign in, and let us know how long you want to stay. That is pretty much available all the time. One of the other great things I would call on community businesses, we're a great place to have certain kind of volunteer group outings. What I mean by that, we've got some really fun stuff. And by fun, I mean painting and maybe helping us in the back or getting things ready for our expansion that we'll have after the beginning of the year. We would like to be ready for that outdoor center to be open in spring. And we can do that with a lot of volunteer help and so forth. So we're always looking for volunteers, or working directly with the clients, or if you want to come out there and bring your skills, with gardening, with painting, with carpentry, we can take it because those are all not my strong suits. The other thing you asked about events, I mean, we really have a couple of really big legacy type events that we started in our first year that we have kind of going on that you'll see. We believe it's important for us to have a community presence and to get out in the community. And so a couple of things that we do, Little Chute has an awesome cheese fest. I learned about it a couple of years ago, and we actually serve as one of the community non-for-profit food vendors, being able to get our name out there, serve food to folks, and serves as a little bit of a fundraiser for us. So we're always looking for help. If you want to help us, run the booth, even if you don't want to run the booth and you want to come by and say hi. Sometimes we'll have some of our friends there. Sometimes it'll be just us, but you can come, ask some questions, and join us there. Typically that's, I think, in June. We run a sportsman's raffle, so all around the valley you'll see flyers up about how you can win some really cool sportsman stuff. One of the highlights of our year is our annual large fundraiser. Our second annual event just finished. We had a sold-out event in our second year, over 250 people. But we're planning to do it again October 22nd of next year. We keep it on that same week. We think if people know when it is, they mark the calendar and they come. And we're looking forward to that. Our theme of the event for the first 2 years, and it'll be the same, plays off of that idea of friends. And so, I've got a legal person on my board too, and they told me I had to change one little aspect of it. But it's called the You've Got a Friend in Us, because that's what we want us to say is to our friends, our community, us on the board, the caregivers, they all have a friend in us. And so we come together once a year and we celebrate them. We celebrate the community that supports us, our sponsors, our caregivers, and everybody. And it's just a really fun event.
Sounds like a really fun event, and we should get that on our calendars, Timber.
Hey, if you give me an invite and there is food, I can promise you I will be there.
Sounds good. We'll remember that.
And what venue can host such a great turnout, especially this early in your tenure?
Yeah, so we've partnered with Van Abels out in Hollandtown. And, like anything, the first question says, well, you sold it out last year. What are you going to do next year? And I would say we're going back to Van Abels because, I'd rather have a really great event for 250 in a venue that supported us. If we sell out, people should just buy tickets a little earlier. We want to have, the community supporting us, but we also want to support those that supported us in the beginning. And so they do a great job out there. I know a lot of people have probably been to events there, and they've just been so gracious to us.
That's awesome. You've tickled our ears already with a couple of things that you say that the community can do to support you, but let's drive that home. What exactly could the community do to be helpful for you?
That's a great question. Part of me says they've done so much already, and for being a third-year entity, we have some incredible business sponsors that have come forward. I'd like to tell you, a few just to give you an idea. Network Health, my employer, Fox Communities, Bolt, the Appleton Rotary Club. The list goes on with a number of the different businesses. One of the things I do hear as we kind of talk about what we do is you're a small nonprofit. Maybe a little too small for us to really kind of help. And I like to think of ourselves as small and mighty. And what we're doing is really mighty. And it's important. And that's what I'd ask the listeners to think about is there's a lot of great places with needs, but we can use small donations. We could use sponsorships for the events. It doesn't mean you need to be a large corporation. You can be a small business, or the value's there from every type of donation that we get or any type of sponsorship. But as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be money. It can be your time, and it can be volunteering. And, our board is great. We look sometimes to form committees to help our events. So we could use committee members. We could use additional board members with experience on things we don't have experience with. So really, if you have a desire, you hear what we're talking about today, and you're like, man, that really sounds cool. I would really encourage you to reach out to myself. I'll give that information at the end, but you can go right on to our website, welcomingwillows.org. on the internet. You can see us on Facebook. We're under Welcoming Willows. LinkedIn, Welcoming Willows. Pretty much we keep it consistent. You put in Welcoming Willows, you'll find a way to get to us.
Well, you jumped right ahead to our next question, which is
Overachiever.
I like this. And that is where we would typically ask, who can people contact and how can people contact if they'd like to learn more? And you've given us some options. Is there other ways, or is there someone in specific they should try to reach out to?
So I would say, John, I hope I get this right. It's welcomingwillows@gmail.com is our main box. We monitor. We'll get back to you right away. If you have someone you're looking to see if we're the right place to place someone, would like to get an assessment done, you have something you want to donate for an event, you want to talk about sponsorship, you want to talk about volunteering, we triage every meal or every email, and we get back to you as soon as we can. If you want to get back to somebody immediately, my wife is one of the main contacts. Her name is Tracy Ollech. Her phone number is 414-418-5509, and she'll get back to you, and she'll schedule some time to talk to you a little bit more about what we do and what our needs are.
Spoken with a smile, his wife, Tracy. I love that. So in addition to Tracy, but maybe even you want to expand on that, let's hear shout-outs.
So we couldn't do this without a number of different people. I'm going to start with our friends first. Our families of our friends, they trust us with their loved ones. Without them, we're not anything. Once we have their trust and they come in and they select us for services, the next shout out goes to our caregivers. They're amazing. I don't know how they do it. And they do it with a smile and, like I said, a golden heart. I got a fabulous board, got 10 board members who all do this on a volunteer basis. And they go across the gambit of folks like John, who's retired, to people in many organizations across the valley. And I can't say enough for what they do, the organizations. Our provider organizations that work with us and the clients. I mentioned some sponsors before. We have some incredible sponsors. I'm going to forget some, and I'll probably get an email or two, but they all do a great job. It's local businesses. It's individuals. It's small business giving us a donation for a basket raffle. The hearts of the people in this community are so generous when they understand what we do. And that's the hope today, that people understand a little bit more what we do, because it is important. I mentioned Joyce Lucan, one of our individuals. I want to give her a shout out. And then probably the last two shout outs I'd like. We had a board member pass this year, which was one of our founding board members, Kathy Newman. She's the heart and soul of what we did. And we miss her a lot, but she will always be somebody we think about when we think about our why we're all here, why we're all doing this, because she served a community probably for 40 years doing things in the community. And the last one, I have to give a shout out to a name you guys will all know, Mary Beth Ninehouse. Sat with me one of the first times, and I was introduced to her. They said, you have somebody who wants to help you out. And they told me who she was, and I didn't really know who she was. I was newer to the community. Mm-hmm. She's become an inspiration to me for what she's done in the community and what she's done for us. And so I want to give her a shout out as well.
And John, any shout outs?
He said it all already. I would say the caregivers are phenomenal. I don't know. I deal with it, I guess, every day, but I'm used to it. But they're a step above. They just care so much.
Is there any last things that you would like to share with the Appleton Engaged listener that maybe we didn't ask a question about today?
You want to go first, John? I want to expand on a comment I meant earlier, because I think one of the most incredible things for me, I'm not an expert in running an adult daycare center. And you know, as we learn about this, there's nuances as we learn about growing and expanding. And it is phenomenal. I've mentioned some names before of some organizations you may have had on this podcast before: Valley Packaging, Magnanimous Minds, Inclusion. These individuals that run these organizations, it's amazing how generous of their time and everything else. Because you could think of what we do as business, but we're not. We're serving needs in the community. I can pick up the phone and I can say, I need help on this. And they're ready and willing. I hope they think the same thing of me if they do the same thing. But a shout out to them. I missed them on the first one, so that I did forget. Community needs to know that there's some just great folks out there in our community helping this population, and we're all working together.
Okay. Well, at this time, Brian, John, on behalf of Sarah and myself and the Appleton Engage listeners, we want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Appleton Engage listeners, we're going to start wrapping up this episode. We want to say thank you to you for giving us your minds and your ears, caring about another amazing resource in our community, helping to make Appleton and the surrounding region a better place. These services for those individuals, for those who are in need, I always get excited when I see the hearts, the caring, the empathy of our community members rise to the top and create these amazing resources to serve those in the community that need it most. So I have such a great respect and appreciation for that. Now, Appleton Engage listeners, you already know what our goal is, because I try to tell it to you every episode, and that is this. We are trying to become the #1 podcast in Northeast Wisconsin, and we can't do it without your assistance. So what does that look like? Well, as you listen to this episode and you're thinking, Timber, you should have asked this or you should have asked that. Well, you know what? You got to let us know. Some of you are listening right now and you're thinking, I would be a fantastic guest, or I know a fantastic resource that should be on as a guest. Well, guess what? You should let us know. And you can let us know by reaching out to us at belonging@appletonwi.gov. Once again, that is belonging@appletonwi.gov. Also, we believe that we are a stronger community when we are an informed community. And one of the things we're doing to inform you is to create this amazing podcast that tells you about all these awesome resources. So the more people that know about it, the stronger we are, the more we can foster belonging and have empathy for our residents here. So how do we get in front of more eyes and ears? It's called analytics. So while you're listening to this podcast, take a moment. If you see a button that says subscribe, hit it. If you see 5 stars, give us those. And if you see the opportunity to write a review, please take a few moments and write that review. These are all things that increase our analytics. And the better our analytics are, the more eyes and ears of our community get to learn about this amazing resource known as the Appleton Engaged podcast.
And I can say that this episode will hold a very special place in my heart. I've learned a lot, and I hope our community has been inspired as I have been. And I think Brian said it best. They may be small, but they're mighty. So this is certainly an organization worthy of our community to shoulder their powerful impact on. And I just would ask that until next time, stay thoughtful, stay curious, and stay engaged.